always in the background was the idea that the United States of America is a nuclear power, and that if you screw with us or with our allies, we will keep all our cards on the table. That, you know, everything's on the table. We're not going to take anything off the table. So that's always been out there. And as far as I can tell, this new policy essentially says that if you're not currently a nuclear power, and you have not, gone out of the non-proliferation treaty, you can do anything you want, and we're not going to hit you with a nuclear weapon. You can hit us with chemical. You can hit us with biological. You can hit our allies with chemical, biological. You can even do an electromagnetic pulse, probably. I mean, it's hard to say from what he said. But that's okay. We're not gonna hit you with a big one. I don't understand why that's a smart thing to do. In a dangerous world, I think it's smart to reserve all options. Sure. And uncertainty creates stability, believe it or not. Years ago, we had what we called mutual assured destruction, or MAD. And it was a little crazy, but the Russians, the Soviet Union, could not strike us with certainty. We, in fact, couldn't strike them with certainty. And so there was this mutual assured destruction, this sense of a strategic balance that neither side could really survive the other side first strike. Neither side could benefit from a first strike, so why do it? Now, currently, what the president is proposing, as I understand it, is to move away from that. And he's talking about a world that's free of nuclear weapons. That'd be wonderful. But what about the country like Iran, or North Korea, better example, that was a member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and then secretly began to develop nuclear weapons, and then when the secret became more or less known, they abrogated their obligations under the treaty, threw out the IAEA inspectors, and said, hey, now we got a bomb. Isn't that great? And what do we think Iran is doing? I think Iran's doing the exact same thing.
Sure.
And when we begin to fold up our nuclear umbrella, we talk about the nuclear umbrella, the umbrella reaches out over South Korea. It reaches out over Japan. It reaches out over our NATO allies. It reaches out over Australia. And what we essentially say is, if you folks are threatened by a nuclear power, we'll be there for you. You can be under our umbrella. What happens when you fold up the umbrella? What's Japan going to do? Well, maybe for the first time since World War II, Japan's going to say, we really can't trust the United States anymore. We got North Korea over here that's already developed nuclear weapons and firing missiles out over our territorial seas. Maybe it's time for us to develop weapons too. If we can't trust the U.S., we know we can trust ourselves. What's South Korea going to do? 30 years ago, South Korea had a surreptitious bomb project. The U.S. found out about it, and we canceled it. What are they going to do? What's Taiwan going to do? Taiwan has to rely on the United States. Can they rely on the United States? When I was in Taiwan back in the 70s, they were attempting to surreptitiously build nuclear weapons. Part of my job was to uncover that project. We uncovered it. We told them cease and desist. We shifted our embassy to Beijing, but we inked an agreement with them that we would protect them in the event of a strike. What about now? We're going to protect them now? What do they think about that? Are they reassured by what the president's talking about, or are they going to go back to secret development of nuclear weapons? So in other words, as you shrink that umbrella, maybe what you do is provide an incentive for other countries to develop nuclear weapons, which is the exact opposite of what the president says he wants to do.
Well, it's clear that since the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and, we were the ones who dropped the 2 atomic bombs to end that war. I tell you, since then, Rob, we technically, if you want to take 9/11 out of the equation, because it really wasn't a country that attacked us, we haven't really been attacked. And you would have to think that the idea that we have at our disposal nuclear weapons has to be a deterrent.
Well, I think it is. There's no question in my mind as we sit here in New London, across the river is electric boat, and then you got the submarine base up the river, that for many years the Trident submarines with 26 missile bays sitting out there underwater somewhere secretly denied the Russians confidence that they could knock us out in a first strike. They just didn't know where those subs were. And each of those subs carried a huge wallop. You know, they knew where the missile sites were in the Dakotas. They knew where the B-52s were, some in the air, some on the ground.
Sure.
They could tell where they were. They knew where the submarines were that were at a pier or being maintained, you know, down at Kings Bay or out on Washington State. But the ones that were deployed with all those missiles on board, they didn't know where they were. And because they didn't know where they were, they could not reasonably strike because they knew that there would be retaliation. So this kind of crazy strategic balance maintained the peace between the superpowers for almost half a century.